Hello mini makers. Today we'll be making a Scizor in Blender. This is a longer live stream to just see how we do it. So first we'll begin with making the head. So we add a sphere, size it, then let me turn on screen keys. Okay. So we make a sphere with Shift A and then size it with S and then Z to make it a little bit bigger in the Z dimension, like we see the Scizor here. We can get a general head shape by just kind of tilting it. We'll define the head shape later in sculpt mode and using proportional editing. We're just doing the basic shapes now, so we can add another sphere for the body. Size at Z dimension. Yeah. I'm gonna see if Scizor has a neck or if it just kind of attaches. It's a small neck, so we'll make a small neck. Okay, so for here, we can use proportional editing, which we just go in edit mode. Click the vertice. We can either hit O, or we can hit this button up here. And then we can increase the influence by using the mouse wheel. I'll do that now. And then we can make the bottom look more like this section here by selecting the bottom vertice and then scaling everything but the Z dimension by hitting S and then Shift Z. Okay, that's better. Scale it in the Y dimension a little bit. And we can do the same with the top. S and then Shift Z. Now I'm looking at a couple different concept arts here. I'm mainly going off this one. And it's just to get the basic shape. We can always define it, which I'm going to doing in sculpt mode. But for now, we're just blocking out the basic shapes. Now we can move on to probably a little bit. No, that's fine. We can now move on to the shoulder. We can do this by adding a UV sphere. Shift A, rotating it across the Y-axis by hitting Y and then R, Y, then 90. Forward. Okay. We can Shift C. And delete some of these vertices. We can delete the vertices in edit mode. Then we can fill in the deleted faces with F. We can inset this area a little bit with I. And then just move it in a little bit slightly. So then we get the same kind of look that we have here. Once again, these are also going to be cleaned up in in sculpt mode, but for now we're just getting all the basic shapes together. We can get some cylinders for the arms, or instead of that, I'm going to use the skin modifier. So we're going to add a vertice. Add a vertice here. We're going to select vertices using 1, so we can actually select the vertice we're seeing. Then move it around using G. Put over that. Want to do it in edit mode. Move it back to vertice. Perfect. Then what we can do is we can move it over to where the shoulder blade is. Then we can enter skin mode. Sorry, skin modifier, set the right surface modifier, and then we can begin to extrude with E. In edit mode, extrude with E. Then we get the arms that we see here. It's a very easy way to get simple arms or the outline of an arm. So I'm going to be 3D printing this, so I may make it slightly bigger than you would expect. And to make them any vertice bigger, you can use Control A, make it slightly bigger. Move it a little bit more. And I'm going to give it a slightly different pose than we see here. I'm going to be making it one of these where they go backwards, I think. Yes. I'll do one of these. We'll see. We'll work with it. And then I'm gonna kind of make the same thing here. And I'm just gonna mirror this. So I'm gonna mirror this across the x-axis here. And I'm gonna mirror the shoulder blade as well. Okay. So now we can work on adding the thorax bit here. You can do that by just adding a sphere, scaling in the Z dimension, selecting the middle portion, and using proportional editing and kind of scaling it a bit. And then doing the bottom section, scaling it inward a little bit. Okay. So that looks kind of like it. It's also going to be going backwards a little bit. So before we do that, we're going to delete some of these top vertices here. And we're going to extrude it upwards to make this connection point, how it kind of looks like it's kind of more of a cylinder connection point than just like a rounded connection point. I'm going to fill in those spaces with F. Bad. Fill in the space with F, and then we're going to rotate it a little bit. A little bit as well. To kind of make it look like its feet are going to be, I'll add the feet, which can be added using, let's see. It looks like it has the same shoulder pad things for the feet, so we can just copy those, move those down. Here. Okay. And then we can use the same Shift A, add a vertex here, then move it in object mode where it needs to be, and then use then extrude it in the Z dimension. So we just hit E, extrude, and then we do the skin and set divide surface modifiers. Okay, that's this portion here, and then we can add this portion. We can add a cylinder or add a sphere. So if you want to move a sphere or anything to another location, you can just click on the sphere, then shift click on where you want to move it, and hit Control C, and then hit copy location, and then it moves it to wherever the origin of that location is. So we have this. We can just scale it in the Z dimension. Blink a little bit, scale it. That looks fine. Okay. Move this up a little bit. Okay, so it looks like this is much longer, so we can scale it a little bit more. Okay, that looks like it's about the same distance here. Okay, so now we can delete the vertices at the bottom. Delete a couple of these. And then we can fill this section in. And now we have a flat base. And then we can mirror these. We can mirror these here. Mirror with the mirror modifier. And then mirror modifier here. Okay, so now we're getting a lot closer to the basic Scizor. Okay, so now we can just go ahead and add the feet, which are just, it looks like they're just cylinders down here. So we can just go to cylinder, add a cylinder, Shift A, move it over. Go edit mode, select one of the end faces, and then we can kind of just shrink it. That. And then we can proportional editing, move the section up. We'll see how this works. If we don't, doesn't work very well, we can just do another method by adding a cube. Yeah, we'll just add a cube. We can just add a cube instead. Add the cube here. Move it over. Then we can move it in the Y dimension a little bit with G and Y. Move these down. Then we can link it here. Okay, and then we can link it there. And then we can subdivide surfaces a bunch. Okay, yeah, it's looking better already. We can just add. Kind of looks like what we're looking at. We're looking for. Gotta move this top section up a little bit. Make sure you select both sides. Okay, and then we can scale it in the Z dimension a little bit. I think it's okay like that. And then we can And then we can mirror this across the foot in the Y dimension. And actually move this up a little bit. You can see in some of the art. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. So now, and then we can also mirror this, add another mirror modifier, and mirror this across the thorax. Okay. So now we can some more dynamic. Okay. So now we can move on to making the wings, and then we can move on to making the claws. For the wings, we can add a cube. Scale it in the Y dimension. Okay, now we can scale it in the X dimension. Get one side in the X dimension. Extrude this upwards. Scale this middle part. Move this part up a little bit. Now we'll see if that's the right shape that we have here. Subdivide surfaces. Yeah, that's close. What we can do is we can add some loop cuts to kind of give it a little bit more definition. There. Now it has a little bit sharper look there, and then we can add a loop cut here. First, we can move this vertex up a little bit more, and then we can add definition there. Then we can just make this bottom a little bit. Okay, that looks pretty much like it. Okay. Now we can kind of put it in place. So I'm kind of going through the orthographic views by hitting 1, and then if you do Control 1, you can look at the back, Delete look at the side, Control D look at the other side, and 7 to look at the top, Control 7 look at the other to look at the bottom. So I'm looking Control 7 at the top. Okay, that looks good. Now we can mirror this across the body. Okay. And now we can add the wing segments, which can be done in a very similar fashion by adding a cube. Then we can subdivide surfaces. And then for these little sections here, we can add loop cuts. So we add a loop cut, then we use the mouse wheel to add more. That. Subdivide surfaces a little bit more. And then we can add edge loops with loop cut. And then we can kind of close these. Use proportional editing. Move them in the X dimension. Okay, now we have that general look. To make it a little bit wider. Okay, a little bigger. And then we can Alt select the edge loops, hit B to bevel them slightly. Then we can hit E to exclude, and then Alt S, push them inwards. And that creates the little wing bits there, the indentations. Now I guess we move them in here. Kind of rotate them and move them in place. I assume they go inside this section. We'll see. That. Or do they go right into the back? I'm gonna look up some concept art here. It looks like they go. I'm gonna look at the sprites. See. Here we go. Okay, so now I'm gonna try to find the sprites here. See if I can find a picture of it with the back. Okay. It looks like all these pictures don't show where the back is. Okay. Looks like they go slightly underneath the back. Okay. Oh, I lost it. Okay. So now we can move these slightly further down. Looks like they're kind of like that in the wing, but also outside of the wing. And then we can rotate it using R, Z, Y, like that. Kind of in the wing and kind of not. Like that. It's very weird, but oh well. Let me add some more. There we go. Now we can make the other wing in the same fashion we made this little wing guard thing here. We can add the wing using add a cube. And then for these sections, I'm gonna make those in sculpt mode. The wing here. Scale in the Z dimension. Subdivide surfaces. Okay. Then we can kind of move this one up a little bit. One out. Move these in. And then we can kind of keep adjusting until we get the general shape that we want. And we're getting close to it. I think that looks close enough. Okay. And we can rotate this. Kind of make it bigger in the Y dimension. small in the Y dimension. If you double tap Y, when sizing, you can size it in the local Y dimension, or the Y dimension for the object. What I'm doing here. Now we just want to move this over there so it doesn't look like it's overlapping. Okay. Okay. Next, move this closer in like that. Okay. Add another layer of subdivision. Move it back over a little bit. There we go. And there we have our wing. Gonna just make it a little bit. There we go. There's the wing. There's the other wing. And for this pattern, I'll add that in sculpt mode. So now we're almost done with the basic shapes. Okay. Mirror this one across the body as well in the X dimension. Okay. Now what do we have else to look at? We can do the hands. We can do the arms. So the bottom section is kind of easy. We'll add 2 spheres. Add a sphere here. Cut it in half. Okay, that looks like this bottom part. And then for the top part, we can add another sphere. This up. We'll rotate it 180 degrees. Make it bigger. Okay. So now we can move this portion down. Okay. Take this section here. Move this portion down as well. Okay. We have this little beak part to the surface a bit. Okay, so now we have this. We can add some boundary lines with loop cuts in edit mode to make this a little bit sharper, like we have here. Also move this portion. You can also cut this in half and just mirror it so we only have to do stuff on one side. Make sure mirror goes first and make sure clipping is enabled. Okay. And move this portion up slightly. Okay. Okay, that's fine. Then we can exclude this portion down. Just line things out to get a general pattern. If not, we can just add another sphere section here and kind of build it up with using booleans. I think is what we will do. Once again, this is just to get basic shapes, which we define later in sculpt mode. Now that we have this, we can then add this little section back here, which looks to be a cylinder. And rotate it across the Y, X. Portion a little bit smaller. Here, get back here. Put that here. Okay. And then we can fill this section in. And we can move here. A little bit. And then we can okay. And then for this top person here, so we basically what we did was we inset it, then extruded it downward. This top portion here, we're just going to we may use booleans for this top portion as well. So let's see. Make a circle or add a UV sphere. Get it in the Y dimension. Something like this. Move this portion inwards slightly. And then we can kind of just cut out what we want. That looks big. Now we can just use some cutting tools. So we just add cube here. Okay, we add the cube. This. Another cube. Here. Trying to figure it out. What is not the easiest? What can I gotta just do this. What really matters is the end result, you know. what you have at the end. If you like what you have at the end, then how you got there isn't that important. And I am just trying to make a Scizor D&D character. So this will be 3D printed eventually. So as long as I get 3D print that I need, it doesn't really matter how I got there. Okay, so we'll just do this and see if this works. So we're gonna just do a Boolean here. Okay, that looks like this section. And we'll do the difference here. Does not look like that section. Okay. Okay, we'll try it one different way, another way of doing it. I don't like how that looked. So now we can fly out just making it in sculpt mode and use some hardware surface modeling. So that's this portion. Then we can go into sculpt mode. I cut these in half. About right there. Fill this in. Okay, and then I'll just do my surfaces. And then I'll go into sculpt mode. Geometry class X and Y. We'll add some geometry using dynamic topology. So what we can do here is we can go into the, what is this? Active tool workspace setting. Go to dynamic topology section. Start with change to constant detail. Start with a small amount, say 5. Go to your blob tool, set that to 0. And then start adding some geometry. We'll see. Okay, so we'll add some more. We put it 10. Okay. So now we're just drawing on the vertices here. So I'll take you in edit mode and you can see that it's denser. Okay, so now we're just going to use the snake hook tool, the sharp fall off. We're gonna do the rotation and scale. So you do Control A, you apply the rotation and scale. We can kind of pull it down. See if that works better. Kind of works. I think I'll go with that. Let me see if there's a better fall off for this. Maybe linear? Yeah, I'll do linear. Let's change the fall off to linear. And then we'll move it down about here. There you go. And that looks like that. That's perfect. Then we can do the same thing here. Okay. So now we'll just use the snake hook tool, make it smooth, and bend this portion a little bit. Okay. So that came out better. That came out how I kind of wanted to look. Now what I can do is I can still in sculpt mode, go in, use the mask tool to mask everything here. This. Mask that. And then I can kind of pull all this, push this inwards with the inflate mesh filter tool. I can just push it in with the draw tool. So go to draw tool, minus, push it in. That. You can add some more geometry here. It's to 20. Then smooth it. Okay. That's good. And then we can just add, inflate a little bit here. You can inflate slightly, and then we can use the scrape tool to make it sharp. Or, yeah, make it sharper. We use scrape tool here. Scrape tool and the pinch tool. Okay. So now, bring back the other portion. And then here we can just use the snake hook tool. Get a mask. Mask everything that you don't want to be affected. This. And then we can use the snake hook tool to pull this section down. That. Like this. And that kind of looks like this. And then we can just kind of pull this all back a little bit. And then move this back a little bit, make it a little bit bigger. And then now we have a passable printer's claw. So this is, like I said, yep, passable for printer's claw. So now we can look at some more concept art to see if there's any. Yeah, I'll just give it a slight bit of using the draw tool, negative dimension. Just gonna kind of I'll add some geometry, and then I will kind of push it in a little bit. Okay. So then I will now push it in a little bit. This. Give it a little bit more of an interesting shape like you see on some of the Pokemon cards. Okay. Perfect. So we can this. Okay. Take this, kind of size it in a little bit. Then we'll add a loop cut to make it a little bit more solid. There we go. And now we can subdivide this cylinder. Then we can eye there, insert this, insert that. We'll just use the snake hook tool to kind of make this part using the glab tool. Pull this part up slightly, give it a little bit more volume there. You can use F to make the tool slightly bigger, and then you just use kind of pull it up very slightly. Okay. And then now we can make these smaller. Be smaller here a little bit. $180. Move these into place. Go. And then we can union these together. So I had the Bool Tool add-on downloaded, so that's why I'm going to Bool Tool here, just auto unioning. You could just go add the union modifier or the Boolean modifier, union, click on the other object. And then delete the other object. But instead I'm just going to use the union modifier. The union in auto Boolean in the Bool Tool add-on. Okay. Then we have Scizor's claw. Mirror Scizor's claw across the body. So now we can kind of move these a little bit. This. I want to make it look like it does in the new Pokemon game when it's attacking. But I think I'll just kind of get close enough and then call it at it close enough. Probably be there. Okay. So now we have all the basic parts. Oh, except for these little portions up here, which we can add, I guess, cubes. And then we'll union them together and then smooth it out all in the sculpt mode. Okay. Do that. Basically just scale in the X dimension. The top inward slightly and the bottom outward slightly. Add some subdivisions. And then add some loop cuts in edit mode. Let's see. And nah, that's probably fine enough. Again, it's just a basic shape. Then we can duplicate it over here, then duplicate it again. Like that. Maybe rotate it a little bit further. So when we're going to union these together, make sure that they don't overlap, because it'll cause issues in the printing process when you overlap them. Okay. Do this. Okay. So we have that there. For this little nose bit that's going in slightly, we'll probably just finish off all the shape in edit mode. Yeah. I mean in sculpt mode. At the back of the Scizor. Yeah, okay, we'll do the less in sculpt mode. So we can just union everything together. So select both, auto union. We select the middle portion, union as well. Okay, that's fine. So now we can add some silhouette surfaces first, and then add geometry. Okay. Oh, see, it's already starting to look like it now. We're already starting to get there. Okay, so we just subdivide surfaces a little bit and then add some geometry using dynamic topology. We can use the blob tool. Put this length to 0. Dynamic topology. Let's go with 20. So I have the vertices enabled down here, so you can see how many I'm working with. That's slightly less, so we'll move it to 35. Okay, so now we're at 500,000, or I mean 250,000, and that looks like it's going to be good. So now we can just add the vertices here, add the vertices to all of this. Okay, so like if we go in edit mode, we see that it's very dense mesh now. That's fine. We're not putting this in a game. We are putting it in a game, just a real game, a live game, a D&D game. So now we can just make sure symmetry is enabled. Use this snake hook tool to pull out this little mouth portion here. And then give this one part a little bit more of that. Oh yeah, see, now we're getting there. Anybody who thought we weren't going to get there, we're getting there now. Plus the process on a lot of this, you know? Many times here, you're like, oh, how are we going to get this? How are we going to make this happen? Just keep going. My best advice is learn a bunch of tricks. Learn a bunch of tricks so you can try to make stuff happen however you can make it happen. It doesn't have to look pretty while you're making it. It just has to look good at the end. Like these claws. Claws were a mess. They're still a mess, but they're passable now. Okay, so this is kind of looking like the face. We can go here. We can kind of move this portion back down a little bit. The head here. Smooth it out. Smooth tool. Okay. Okay, so we have that. So now for these sections here, then we can pull these out slightly. Sides here. Like that. Push them in a little bit. It kind of doesn't. I think the defining characteristic of Generation 2 Pokemon is that their designs look all a little off. I feel like they didn't really know where they were going very well in Generation 2. I like them a lot because they're kind of funky if you look at them compared to Generation 3, where they start going into more of what we recognize as Pokemon. And then Generation 1, which was like, hey, we're just doing whatever we want here. Okay. So for this portion here, how it hooks in, we have too much of a hook. We can use the snake hook tool here. And then we can use the crease tool at a very small very low strength, and that gives us the hook. And then for the actual bits themselves, they don't look light. What we can do is we can add some volume using the clay slips tool. I'm gonna add a little bit of volume to the front here. This. Then we're gonna smooth it out. First we gotta add some volume. Okay, volume is added. Smooth it out. Smooth tool. And now, so now we have some volume, it's coming out. It doesn't look like we just added some cubes. Even though we did just add cubes. What we can do now is we can use the scrape tool. Kind of flatten these out. And smooth them a little bit. And then they start looking like the art. There we go. Perfect. There we go. That's looking like Scizor's head. And just add a little bit more. Inflate a little bit here. We can use the snake hook tool just slightly to bring this back a little bit. Forward a little bit. Okay. Okay, that's Scizor's head. Pretty well done. So now we can move on to the body. Body here. We can subdivide surfaces here. Couple layers, subdivide surfaces. Okay. I think I'm gonna pull this little section down here. So it kind of looks like there's a portion of the neck. Okay, I think that's fine. I don't know how Scizor's neck works. Yeah, it's weird. I don't know how it works. We'll just say that this is good enough. Just kind of make it look a little bit better. But like I said, it looks like it's just kind of glued on there. Okay. So now we can work on the body. Divide surfaces. And now we can use the snake hook tool. Make it big. Enable symmetry across the x-axis. Get in. Move it down. This is my favorite part of sculpting, just kind of pushing and pulling stuff together, pulling stuff around. The part that feels most like actually sculpting in clay. We push these parts in here up top. Then we can pull this up a little bit higher. Like that. And we can add some volume here. In the volume. What else we can do? We can make the whole thing bigger. Like this. Smooth it out. And that's looking more like Scizor's body. Okay, that's good. Alright, perfect. And perfect-ish. Perfect enough. Yeah, I would say perfect enough. And now we can make this little pattern on the front, which is just a little pattern. So you can either paint that on, either digitally or physically, or like what I normally do is I will add the pattern in so it makes it slightly easier to paint. So add the pattern, make the mask tool, use the mask tool. There we go. Oh no, I guess it does have a little. I literally zoom in, you can literally see the small little. Okay. Move this guy up. So I'm gonna get rid of this section here. So I can get rid of the section using the line project. Or no, sorry, it's. Yeah. So any section that is shaded like that will get erased. Like this. And then we'll just use sculpt mode to kind of smooth it out again. There we go. And we'll just add a little bit of yeah, we'll just add a little bit of volume. Then we use the snake hook tool to kind of push it down a little bit. Go. We can then add the cylinder. This is what was missing. Really got to zoom in, see that cylinder there. So I don't know how good this is going to be for 3D printing. Not great. I can already tell you right now. Okay. So now we can go back into the body. And we can make this this little portion. So mask tool, M. Excuse me, here we go. And we can kind of circle around the body here. The mask tool. Make a mask. Okay. Kind of bring this section in maybe a little bit. There. And then we can just fill in this mask. Gonna hide this head. Fill in this mask. Like this. Okay, mask is filled in. We're gonna stabilize float, clean up the mask a little bit. Okay. That mask is good now. Now we can invert the mesh. The mesh is inverted, and then we can use the inflate mesh filter to push the section in slightly. And then use the pinch tool to make a clean boundary between the body and the pattern. Okay. We're gonna follow the same method for making the eyes. There we go. That's a little pattern. I think I'm actually gonna. For some reason, I don't know why, sometimes my wheel select, my tab wheel select thing stops working. Let me see if I can. Oh, also, don't forget to save a bunch. Navigation, map. I think it's navigation. Interface. Map. Be a tab. Oh yeah, here we go. Tab for pie menu. Okay. There we go. So, in case you're wondering how I did that, it's just tab for pie menu. Tab for pie menu. So let me just add a little bit more geometry here. I like making things really smooth. I don't know why. You don't have to. Okay, and then we're just gonna use the nudge tool to nudge this into place a little bit. And use the nudge tool. Kind of open it up slightly. We see there. Okay. And close enough. And close as close as I want to make it. So now is a little thorax, not thorax, little butt part. Make it a little bit bigger. And then now we can do the same thing we did to make the pattern on the body, just do the same thing on the little butt part. So divide surfaces. Apply that. Okay. Crazy how we're getting there. Like, we're almost there. The legs are done, so I'm just gonna subdivide them. They kind of look more like legs. The legs and the feet are done. This portion, I think, I would say is also done. So subdivide this. Okay. Let them move these into that they go into the body like that. And then we have Yep, making the thorax. Let me just subdivide this as well. Excuse me. Are these connected by a joint? Let me see. Maybe there's a joint there. We'll see. Kind of. It looks like it's just a cylinder kind of attached there. And we'll add it. Kind of rotate these back again. Then we'll just add a cylinder for some reason. Rotate across the y-axis. Add the cylinder here. So we want to make, so right now we want to make this bigger, but we don't want to make it bigger across the x-axis. We can hit S and then Shift X, and that makes it bigger everywhere across except the x-axis. So, and we'll just add a cylinder, I guess. Or we can just keep moving this part out. Exclude that. Add a loop cut here. Inset the face at the end a little bit. There we go. There's our weird cylinder that's on there for some reason. Okay. We can actually make this just come out a little bit more. Portion editing, zoom in a little bit. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Okay. So now we'll just do the bottom part of the body. Same general method. Rotation scale. Mirror across the X. M to mask. Here we go. There. I'm gonna add some geometry first with dynamic topology. Dynamic topology, add some geometry here. Okay, geometry's added. We can just, there we go. Okay. Let's move these further off. Okay. So now we're just doing a little bit of drawing. Okay, there we go. Drawing. Go back to the mask. Okay. And then we can just fill in this section without stabilize slope enabled. Just kind of fill it in. And then stabilize slope one more time. There we go. Okay. There we go. Okay, that looks like it's getting there. Okay. This bottom pattern looks a little bit funky, but that's okay. The cool thing about Pokemon is, if you ever take a look at Pokemon cards, they don't all look the same. And so mine will have a slightly smaller thorax. So I push this portion in. This is not a thorax. I don't know what it's called. All of it's called a carapace. I don't know what that portion is. So push this in slightly. Now it's in slightly. We can then make these little sections. Sculpt tool. Here we go. Sculpt tool. We can do this top one up here. Okay, and then we can just make sure that they don't overlap here. And then we can inset them. Get the Leo clean. Because I don't trust myself to paint really small details like that. Alright. And then we'll do the wings. We'll do the little pieces on the claws. So for here, we'll just subdivide surfaces. We won't mirror them. Subdivide surface. So right now we can mirror across the y-axis. First, I'm going to origin to geometry. There we go, now we're mirroring across the y-axis. Gonna do scale. And I'm gonna add some geometry with the dynamic topology. I have to make it 45. We can do 35 maybe. Okay, perfect. Now we just do the same thing. Save less look enabled. Install the pattern. Yeah, for some reason, sometimes it does this. Go back and the pattern again. Okay. Perfect. So now, just invert mesh, Control I, inflate mesh filter. And there we go, as a wing pattern. Then we can, now we can mirror it. So now the last couple things we have to do is the claws. These little portions of the claws. You probably also know how I'm gonna do it. Just mask. Mask. I'm gonna push one out and then push one in. Just because I think that's how it should be. And why not? This is my Scizor. Okay. So once again, use the pinch tool to make a sharper boundary. Alt M, go back to the mask tool. Now make the small yellow one on the inside. I. That one in. Pinch tool to make it sharper, clearer. Here we go. Now we mirror this across the body. Mirror. Boom. There we go. And now all we need is the eyes. Wow. Only an hour and 30 minutes. Not very hard at all. So all we need to do is, I'm gonna draw them. Whenever I do Pokemon, I like to draw the eyes on, just because it always tends to look better for some reason. I don't know why. I think it's because they're drawn on normally. So there we go. For most other things, I just make the eye socket and add the eye. Pokemon's eyes are always so varied. That I tend to just draw most of them on. So we draw them on using the mask tool. Clean up any of the edges. Make sure stabilized stroke is enabled to get really easy, clean lines. Take it off when you just want to fill a large section like this. There. So what I normally do with the eyes is I push them in first. And then I push them out. Okay. Scizor's eye. Very clean eye. I think it's clean. And also it gives me a little easy guideline to paint it when I am actually 3D printing it and using it in my D&D games. Okay, so we push it in. So Control I to invert the mask. And then we use the inflate mesh filter to push it in. Boom, there we go. There's an eye. Real easy. Not a lot of work, not a lot of hassle. And then for the... This is the eye. This is the eyeless. This is the pupil, I think. So, for the eyeless, I just install that in as well. And clean it up, of course, using stabilized strokes. If you want to add your eyeball with a sphere, go ahead. This part is just a weird personal preference of mine whenever I'm doing Pokemon. So this is pretty much just this is the pupil. So I'm just gonna make it a little bit bigger. Probably start back here. Move it over to there. Start back here, move it over to a little bit closer. There. Okay. Fill this in. make it just a little bit sharper here. So I'm going into, you can hit, I think you can hit shift or control. Yeah, you can hit control to change between positive and negative. So positive, control, negative. But I just usually like to actually click it. Why not? Okay, so we have, this is looking more like the eyeless section. So if I go in, I push this in, and I can just push this part out. Push it out slightly. Push it out slightly, like here. And then I can do the same here. Mesh tool, mask tool. Make the eye, people portion. Eye people portion. And then push that in. And then push that in. And then to make it sharper, we can just use the pinch tool to make a very solid boundary line. If you ever see here that it's kind of running out of vertices, you can just go into dynamic topology, add some topology, smooth it out, and then there we go. So here we go. This is our Scizor. Not hard, pretty easy. Probably make the head a little bit bigger. I always tend to make my heads too small. There we go. Push the back in. Here we go. This back in. There we go. There you're done. So like all of these, I will 3D print them and put them on my printables page as free downloads. If you want to use this Scizor on your own, either diorama or in your D&D game, or if you can somehow fit him in your Tyranid army in Warhammer, who knows? Or just have it as some type of little miniature. Whatever you want to do with it, it's fine. I will be putting this on my printables page sometime tomorrow, probably. Or in the coming week. And I will also paint it, and we'll see how it looks. Okay, well, thank you for following along, and I'm ending the stream.